You want to come up? Zephy, come. You're like, you're on camera, Ma. It ain't happening. Hey, kia ora. Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Sun City in Arizona. Hope you're all having a super fantastic, sparkling Tune-Up Tuesday. It has been a very interesting day today. So today we were talking about the tune-ups, planning ahead, making changes, getting changes into place now so that when 2022 arrives, you already hit the ground running. You are already on the road to wherever it is you want to go in 2022. So we got some more planning done today, got some more stuff into my planner for next year. I can actually start my planner soon. I think it's Monday I can start it, I think. Is it Monday? Hang on. I already have the first week of January filled in. So I think I can actually, yes, I can start it on Monday. So I already have the first week of January in there. I have my genealogy class. That's the following week. In there, there's Networking Riches coming up. That's in there. I have the Leverage Conference in November. So that's already in there. And I have time kind of sort of penciled in for travel. And we want to go. So we've got to start doing the planning. Maybe we'll do that on Christmas Day. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So plenty of projects to go. I've been busy plowing through a list of projects that I have to do, which is going to be very interesting because I'm trying to get them done as quickly as possible without the mistakes. Careful. And I discovered today that Zephy was, she knew it was almost time for me to finish on the help chat. So she comes over and she starts whining at me. So what do? I turned around and started whining back at her. And her whole back end went from just the tail wagging to her whole back end and tail were, I've got Zephy's language. I have no idea what I'm talking to her about, but she's excited about it. Awesome. So I was really thrilled that I actually got onto her thing. And now she's whining because the air fryer has indicated that dinner is ready and I haven't gotten out of my seat yet to go and get it. I was about to do that, shut everything down when I realized, oh, I still have to do my live. So I apologize. We were back in time. We were actually back in time to do it, but I was finishing off some other work that I had to get done today. And I think that ding is the piece of information I'm waiting for. Yes, it is. Oh, I did have the right email address. So starting to talk Zephy's language, which is kind of a frightening thing, but it's so funny at the same time because she doesn't know what to do with some of the noises that come out. Come here, Zeph. Come here. She's laying over there whining, and she looks at me, and then she looks at the air fryer, and then she looks at me, looks at the air fryer, like, there's food in there. It smells good. I want some. And in fact, she'll probably get some of this because it's cauliflower hash browns. So not made with potatoes, but made with cauliflower. And I thought, I'll give those a try because I've had them in the freezer for about a week now. And I kept thinking, oh, yeah, I'll try it for breakfast. Try it never. And I thought, I'm just going to do breakfast for dinner tonight. So I'm going to have some hash browns and I might do some eggs to go with them. And we'll see. Haven't 100% decided. It might just end up being just the hash browns. Who knows? I sat down. I grabbed a snack today and it was the punnet with these different colored cherry tomatoes, and there's a yellow one, and different shaped cherry tomatoes. So they weren't just round, they were also elongated as well. And I had the punnet sitting here, and it's about a pint, I think it is, those punnets. And it was sitting here on the table. I thought, I'll just grab some tomatoes and munch on some of those. I was so busy, I didn't even realize I was eating them. Before I knew it, the whole punnet was gone. And I went to reach for another one. I'm like, there's nothing in here. And I picked up the punnet, and I'm like, look, like you watch people do when their car gets towed, is they come up, they stop, they're looking up and down the street. This happened out front of my parents' place one time. They had this house, and it was there, and it had these big windows in the dining room area that would look out over the street, and the kitchen windows also looked over the street. And we knew the guy's car had been towed because Dad had called and got them to tow it because they were parked over his driveway. We couldn't find the guy. And it was part of the softball club that were up there. And you could always tell when the softball club was playing in the fields across from my parents' place. You never knew when the soccer guys were there. Apart from the amount of cars, you did not know the soccer guys were there. Very, very interesting dynamic difference between the two. And so Dad called he could have issued the ticket. Actually, I don't think he had a ticket book. They didn't have a ticket book, so I couldn't have. So he calls and they come up, and the officer comes out and he has a look at it and he goes, "Yep, well, I can see why you can't get out of there." He says, "We'll get the tow truck." And he says, "I've actually got him waiting down the road." So they came up and towed it. The guy comes, and so we're waiting for the softball game to finish because this is high entertainment at my parents' place. And they come down the hill, which is a small parking area. The field's over behind the houses across the road from us. They come down the hill of the driveway across the road, and the guy's busy yakking away. He looks up and down the street, nothing there. Walks over and stops, and no car. And he's looking up and down the street. And then he goes over and he's like looking in the gutter. Like we've minimized his car or something. So, and I'm sort of like, when you go to find your car is so big. Why look in the gutter to see if you can see your car? Yes, I have no idea how I got onto that. But anyway, so yes. Watch where you park your car. It may not be there when you return. How did I get onto that topic of parked cars? Oh, that's what I was doing. That's right. That's what I was doing with the tomatoes. I'm like pulling the container up and I'm like looking, going, it's a clear container. I'm like, well, where the heck did they all go? And I'm like looking around the table. Zephy's asleep she was up asleep on the bed, and I've got a couple of new blankets, and one of them's looks like it's got sheep wool on one side and flat on the other side, and she has that one up by the window. Well, she got up there this morning and she did her scraping around in her bed and made it all exactly how she wanted it and went to sleep. And then we had the windows open today. It only got to 68 outside, I think it was 66, 68, somewhere around there. And inside the RV, it was around the same temperature because I had the windows open. And so I look up at one point, all I could see were her ears above the blanket. She had her nose under the blanket, and all you could see sticking out was the ears. But she had it so that she had pulled it mainly over to one side and left an area for her to lay herself there. And that way she had the back of the edge of the wall of the bed. Then she had the blanket, which was about the same height by that point. And then she had a place that she could bury her nose so that just her ears were sticking out. It was so cute. And I thought, I want to go get a picture of that close up. But I knew the moment I started moving from the seat, she would have been, what you doing? So yeah, so I ended up eating a full thing of tomatoes today. So I think I got the fruit side in. But yeah, we're going to go try some cauliflower hash browns now. So anyway, that's it from us for the day. I promised you a story, didn't I? A story. What happened on that trip? We ended up getting overnight. I can't quite remember the details of that one. I'm going to have to ask my mum about that one. What do you think, Zeph? What's a good story to tell? She's like, come here. Then he come say hi. Tell a story. You want to come tell a story? There's times we've been on road trips when Zephy forgets that she's belted in and that her belt doesn't allow her to get up on the dashboard. So she'll be sitting on the floor and takes this flying leap to go, boom, back on the floor again. She sits up, shakes herself off, and kind of like looks around and looks at me, and I'm going, you're not allowed up there when we're driving. But yeah, there's some amazing drives around this country. Oh, that was the one when we went to, where were we going to? I was on the road trip with my parents when they came over for the first trip in Sparkles, and we were doing Vegas to Moab. So we'd gone up the 15, crossed over into Arizona, and we came to this area that said, no vehicles wider than 10 feet to go through. And I'm like, well, I know the actual body of this is 8 feet, and then you've got the mirrors, which would put us probably around 10 feet with the mirrors. And so we go through this, and they were doing all these roadworks and things around. And I'm like looking at this area, and I'm going, the last time I drove to Vegas, I didn't come this way. I'm pretty sure I didn't. And Dad goes, what do you mean? I says, nothing looks familiar. And I'd driven up to Salt Lake City that way, going from Vegas up to Salt Lake City because it's the same road. And then we turn off to go to Moab. And so we're sitting there and we're moving through the slow traffic because of all the roadworks and everything else. We go through this huge cutting they had this huge hill there that they had literally cut down, and it took you through. And we go through and we're like, whoa. if you've ever seen the movie Cars, there's that scene where Lightning McQueen and the Porsche, can't think of the Porsche, Sally, go for that drive out up into the mountains and things, and go to that old hotel up there with the gas station and all that sort of thing that's all abandoned and everything else. And some of the roads that they go on there, where you've got the tall the sheer cliffs that go straight up from the road, and then you've got that little gully there, and then there's another sheer cliff, and the colors on the rocks as we're cut that have been cut at some point were just incredible. And we come through the cutting and around the corner, and the road, you can see it winding and hugging the edge of these sheer cliffs. And we're just like, I wanted to stop and just absorb the scenery before us. It was unbelievable. Actually, I think my dad took some pictures of it, but it was just amazing. And it took me right back into the movie to that scene when they're off doing that drive and going along the windy roads. That's what that was like with these sheer cliffs and everything. It was amazing. So I've always wanted to go back through there again. I don't know if I'll take sparkles through there, but going through in the car might be pretty cool. But I'll have a dash cam next time I go through, so you get to see some of it that way. But that was just an incredible, just that portion was just amazing. And I kind of felt like I was in a real life cartoon. And I said to Mum and Dad, because they hadn't seen Cars, I said, this makes me feel like that we're in a scene from the movie Cars. And Mum and Dad go, we've never seen that. And I says, oh, don't worry about it. I have it on DVD up there. We'll watch it one night. Because that was that's how we relaxed in the evening, is we'd put a movie on. I would pull out my movies. I would show them which ones I had on Prime. I would pull out my albums and stuff, and would sit down and watch a movie. And they saw Secondhand Lions, My Cousin Vinny. What's the one with Michael Caine and Dean Martin? No, not Dean Martin. Steve Martin. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. We also saw, what else did we see in that trip? We saw a lot of movies because we were watching almost every night. We were watching a movie. So that was pretty cool, and that was just how we ended our evenings. So, but yeah, if you've ever done that drive up the 15 into Arizona to go up to like Salt Lake City, or even into Utah from Vegas, and you go through that cutting, try it one time. It really is a breathtaking view as you drive through there. And yeah, I kind of did slam on the brakes a little bit, just a little bit, but I was going slow, so it wasn't that hard. But I did stop, and I was like, oh, I can't stop. I have to keep going. So, but that was a really, really cool portion of the road trip. I mean, we had so many beautiful sights along the way as you go driving. You go from barren deserts where you see dust devils and you see the tumbleweeds rolling around, to lush green trees overhanging the freeway, and you go through little towns which are literally blink and you miss it, because there might be one or two stores on the main road there that you drive through. We had one place, and it was sort of like, well, I need a break. And Dad said, well, there's an exit coming up here. There's supposed to be a rest area. We get down there. There's this country store there, which had one gas pump out front. There was no way I could have maneuvered the RV in any direction with and be completely off the road to even attempt to fill up the gas on the thing. Fortunately, we didn't need gas at that point. We were getting close to it, but there was another gas station further down. And so there really wasn't anywhere to pull off. There was no rest area there. So we just got back on the road and carried on. But it was like this little tiny general store with one gas pump out front. And it had been around a few years. It had been around a few decades, maybe even a couple of centuries. Okay, maybe not a couple of centuries, but it looked that way. But I can't even remember where it was. I was on one of the canyons as we were going from the 15 across to Moab. It was in one of those canyons there. But even just enough of that was enough to switch my mentality around so we could get on and get over to where there was a bigger gas station and things. So, but it's amazing the incredible sights you see, and the street names and some of the town names that you see are really cool. You know, there's one on the I-10 as you are heading either into it's in Arizona. It's in Arizona. So on the I-10, if I remember correctly, it's like around exit, I want to say 52 or 62, somewhere around there. and there's a bridge that goes over across the freeway, and you look up and it says Sawfinger Road. Like, Sawfinger Road? What's the story behind? I haven't found the story behind that one. But yeah, I like strange names and stuff like that. I put on my little recorder, and so I can remember them later and remember to look up. And why is that called Drapes, or why is it called what was the other one? Oh, Weeds, California. That was an interesting place. And of course, being California, I wasn't sure which weed they were referring to until I found out it was actually the guy was named Weeds, and he owned the largest lumber mill in the US, I think it was, at the time. And he didn't want it called Weeds. He wanted it called something else, but the post office insisted that it had to be called Weeds. Who knew post office had powers to name cities, or towns and stuff? So yeah, there was a big lumber mill at one point there. I don't know if it's still there today, but the guy who owned it, his last name was Weeds, and this town got named after him. So that was an interesting one. But anyway, I'm out of here. Gotta go get my cauliflower hash browns before they get cold. So I'll go out, have a super fantastic sparkling rest of your evening, and we'll catch you back here bright and early tomorrow morning. And here comes Zephy. She knows the closing. We'll end up bright and early tomorrow morning for Winning Wednesday. Hey, konera.